Greetings, this is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. This is a review of a post I did called Upod on Elon Musk. Upod stands for Underpromise, Overdeliver. And we're now seeing Elon Musk make a change in his process. And I think it's an interesting choice, and I think we get better results from this. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Bonjour, wie geht's? Versteht noch immer ausbeibeinen. Strasvice, ni hao ma, meslamcha, maslamet. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. I did a video that ended up being a little bit noisy in the background, so it was hard for people to hear, and I was requested to redo. So this might be Upod 2.0, if you will. What this talk focuses on is the fact that in business there's a concept called underpromise, overdeliver. One example of how this process works is if you watch Apple Computer in their earnings announcements, they often put a forecast out, and then when they come out with their earnings, they tend to hit the middle or above on what those forecasts are. So it sort of establishes a certain process in which one can expect a company to perform. Elon Musk has now entered a realm where he's now introduced the Model 3, and what's fascinating is that for the first time, I think, in anything I've seen him do, he referenced the fact that the Model 3 was introduced 2 weeks ahead of schedule. So I thought this was interesting because, you know, Elon knows that he's in a battle with short sellers and others that are naysayers on the viability of his company. And there are certain metrics that these folks are using to determine whether or not the company will succeed or fail. And one of them is if they can meet their deadlines. So I bring this up because it's a fascinating situation that's emerging, which is that they did introduce the car 2 weeks early. They're making deliveries of the car starting as of Friday, I believe, July the 9th, to internal customers, i.e. employees. And in theory, they'll deliver a few hundred Model 3s to employee customers and monitor those vehicles until real customer deliveries start being made on July 28th. The fact that by July 28th, they'll be delivering 30 cars to the first group of non-employee owners, I thought this was impressive because they do meet their deadline, but the production rate at 1 car a day in essence is fairly slow. And then the discussion is the fact that they're going to be doing 100 cars in August and 1,500 cars in September is their target. Now, based on Elon's new leaf, if you will, I believe his Upod strategy will result in at least the numbers described being met. But I think that his goal will be to try to achieve 20 to 30% greater at least than what he has articulated as a way to show that he's sort of changed the stripes. As you may recall, when it came to the Model X, definitely it was a year late, and the Model S, he's tended to miss deadlines, and I think he's sensitive to that fact. The other problem that's sort of lurking in the background is if you miss deadlines, it starts to affect your market credibility, and this can also affect things like financing issues that pop up later and what your valuation is. And what I mean by that is that as Elon Musk has admitted that the Model 3 will cause losses until the end of 2017. What this means is that he's going to have to go back to the public marketplace in order to get more money to fuel operations. And hence, the higher the stock price is, the less challenging or the less money this is going to cost. So I think that he has to do everything possible to deliver on his statements, because the market is going to leverage against those statements to determine whether or not he's credible and he can deliver on what he's stated he's going to be doing. So the answer is, I feel like it's really exciting to see him sort of handcuffed to delivering on what his agreements are. I think he'll be more focused. I don't think he'll be as focused on other tasks, namely SpaceX and the Boring Company and other fun projects he's doing, because he recognizes the company's at a critical point. The other thing that is sort of burning in my brain and is a likely future discussion item that I'm waiting to see, and I think a lot of people are as well, is it's been quiet about the fact that the 2170 battery is now the battery that'll be used in the new Model 3. And there's a whole bunch of statistics you can read or see on other people's sites or see in previous posts that I've done. But two thoughts jumped out of mind to me. Number one is that kind of what they've done is removed the batteries in their previous iteration. They've managed to cram 2 batteries worth of material into one, let's say, 40% larger battery. So what this does is it means you use less metal, so it's lower in cost. You have less weight, so you have double the power, but only, let's say, 30 or 40% more weight, so it's less costly. So there's a whole bunch of throughputs that work well. One of the things that's lurking in my brain on that battery is the fact that when you're working with the 8165, 650, they kept improving what had already been sort of on the market for 10 or 15 years. So it was somewhat easy to manage. How do you manage power? How do you manage temperature relative to supercharging that battery, etc.? And I find it interesting with the 2170 because the big question mark is, will that thing go up in flames? Meaning, if you do regular charging, in theory, it should be okay, but what happens to users when they try to do supercharging? Will that result in a battery that potentially explodes and creates huge issues for customers and for Tesla, because there are so many vehicles waiting to be outfitted with those batteries? This is not a mission critical issue because they theoretically could just switch and start manufacturing the old battery again. But I think this is an interesting sort of question mark that lurks on this vehicle, as sort of how that is going to perform. I think the answer is it'll perform fine, but the other part of it is that nobody knows, even Tesla, because it hasn't been racked up a huge number of miles under real customer conditions. So the thesis or theory that I'm operating on here is that we've entered a new realm with Elon Musk, and the idea is a concept called Upod, Underpromise, Overdeliver. So what Elon Musk is trying to do is he's basically trying to underpromise what he's going to deliver, meet or exceed those goals, and leverage the credibility gained by doing so into higher stock prices, etc., because they want to maintain their market credibility as much as possible heading into the loss period, and therefore, what would be more of a success period for the company. I want to thank you for taking time to view my page. I also want to thank you would like to ask you to subscribe. We have a lot of other interesting things to cover when it comes to the Model 3. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Au revoir, tout à l'heure. Tschüss, macht's gut. Have a good day. Lahitrot, Hoda Hafez. And again, like and subscribe. We'll be showing up on Patreon as well with a note at the bottom of how to participate if you choose to go that route also to support. Thanks again for your help. Have a wonderful day and look forward to our next encounter. This is sort of an addition to my conversation on Upod with Elon Musk. There's behind the scenes, there's a lot going on with the company right now, as you know. One of the sort of question marks that's popped up that I'm fascinated by is that I've been doing channel checks, which means going to dealerships and seeing what's moving and not. And at least in the Washington, D.C. store, there's been a phenomenon happening where the Model 3, the Model X has been selling out. They can't keep any of the test vehicles in stock, versus the Model X, which is languishing in the store. I have to admit, I'm a little excited about this because those batteries can be repurposed into trucks, which is one of the great parts of where Tesla is right now. They have a lot of different ways to use those components to build vehicles and make profit off of those. So, I think we'll definitely be covering this further in the future. Again, thank you again for watching. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Tschüss, macht's gut. Please like and subscribe.